Okay, so the first things we're going to do today are, number one, we're going to write in your journal for 10 minutes. Then after that, we're going to talk about jobs, and we're going to talk about applying for a job and the whole interview process, what you're going to do in the interview. Then after that, I'm going to show you guys a video about a good interview and a bad interview. And you guys are going to tell me, how do you know that this was a good one? How do you know this one was the bad one? What are some of the things you have to do to prepare for an interview? What you have to dress, what you have to wear, if you have to be nice, if you have to be rude, things like that. Then after that, we're going to do pretend interviews. So everyone is going to have a job that they're applying for, and you're going to work with a partner, and you're going to do a mock interview. So mock means pretend.
Can I come in?
Yeah.
My teacher wanted to talk to me.
Yes, no problem. Okay. So the journal topic this week is, what do you want to be when you grow up? What path will you take to get there? And why do you want to do this? So do you guys see how it ties in to the interview and getting a job? Because you're talking about what job you want for the rest of your life. Are you going to do it for the money? Are you going to do it because it makes you happy? All these things I want you to write about. So I'll give you guys the next 10 minutes to write about that. So 15, 25, at 1:25. I'll collect your journals, and then we'll talk about some tips for a good interview. Does anybody have any questions? Your homework? I'll come around and check your homework while you're doing that. It's 1:25, so now if you guys put your pencils down and close your journals, double check your work to make sure it's your best work, and then pass your journal to the right. Okay, do I have everyone's journal? Okay, very good. So now we're going to talk about interviews. Before we watch the video on interviews, we're going to watch a good interview and a bad interview. Let's just talk about interviews for a second. So raise your hand if you've ever been to an interview. For school, for work, a job. Linda, where did you go on an interview?
I just been to an interview for volunteers.
Oh, a volunteer for what?
Volunteers for high schools.
And what happened when you got there?
And they just asked me some questions and I finished.
What were the questions about?
About what are you good at? Like some questions just ask you what's your name, what grades are you in.
So there are general questions, which are those ones about name and grade, and then more specific questions like, what do you think you would be good at in this organization or this company or something? Did you guys have to interview to come to school at Pinghe?
Yeah.
It's in grade 1.
But you still had it.
Yes, they let us do some work on the computer.
Oh, so they measured your intellectual level,
Yes.
not just about personality. Okay. So, as you guys know, if you ever want to get a job, you have to have an interview. So in this class, I'm going to teach you how to have the perfect interview. So in order to know about the perfect interview, you have to know things about a good interview and things about a bad interview. So, good interview and bad interview. So if I'm writing this on the board, you guys should be writing this in your notebooks too. So before you even go to the interview, in order to prepare for, do you have a piece of paper, Wilson? You got to give him one? Before you even get to the interview, you need to prepare for the interview. So maybe you can dress a certain way. Larry, how would you dress to go to a job interview?
Student time.
Like what? Larry's a wetsuit. It's not quite scuba diving.
Only went all the way.
Would you wear jeans? Would you wear a shirt with holes in it? What would you wear?
Uniform.
A uniform, some type of a uniform. Uniform, so you're going to dress nicely. Are you going to have long, greasy hair and a big mustache and a big beard? No, you're going to take a shower and you're going to look the best that you can look for this first impression that you're going to make. Because people remember the first impressions, and this is what you're going to show to them. This is going to determine whether or not they're going to give you whatever you're asking them for. Maybe you're asking them for a job, or you're asking them to come to the school, or you're asking them to be a part of a certain volunteer team. Okay, so some more good things. Does anybody have any more examples of good things for an interview? When you walk into the interview, should you just walk in and sit down and say, okay, what questions do you have to ask me?
Quiet.
No, you're quiet.
Polite.
Be polite. Don't say anything unless they talk to you. So be polite. And what else did we say? Quiet.
Say hi.
Yeah, that's being polite. To introduce yourself, you're going to give them what? A bow, a handshake, a kick. What are you going to do? Maybe in a different culture they do that. A punch.
A bow. Take a bow.
Take a bow. So maybe you can take a bow.
Shake hands.
Or Wilson, how do you shake hands? Show me on my hand. That's what you do? For a handshake. Okay.
Smash hand.
No, you have to be strong and firm. Shake hands. Do what I'm doing. Grab. Yeah, that's a good handshake. Very good. So if you guys handshake here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So a strong, firm handshake. But nothing that's going to take them down to the ground. Because you said you all know Kung Fu, right? So don't want to beat them up. Just strong, firm handshake. Not too strong. When you come into the room, you say hello, you introduce yourself, and you're not supposed to sit down until the interviewer invites you to sit down. So you stand up and then they say, okay, please take a seat, and then you can sit down. So that's a part about being polite. Let's think of some bad things now. So obviously everything that's opposite of the good that we just mentioned. But what about chewing gum? Should you chew gum for an interview?
Yeah.
No. Bad gum, food, something like that. And being any good friend. Okay, so now, what's that?
I have gum before.
Yes, it's good. Brush your teeth and have gum before. So you don't make never want to hire you. Okay. Yeah. Don't bring guns. Do I really have to write that on the board?
You need a job like a police job.
A what? A police job?
Yeah.
No, you still won't bring a gun to the
Or
interview.
gun.
But it's bad, no guns.
Hello, you're
Well,
a gun designer.
I guess I like the way that you guys are thinking. Violence is bad. Violence is not the answer. Okay. So I know that the sound doesn't work, so it has to be extra quiet so that they can hear. I'll put it up all the way that I can on the video. But we already started off our list with good and bad things, and maybe you can look at these interviews and add some more things to the good and bad list. Okay, does anybody have any questions? This is from a high school in America. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so we saw the good interview and the bad interview. So now what I want you guys to do is come up one by one and with a piece of chalk write down one good thing and one bad thing. So you can come up whenever you want. Or hopefully now. Do it now. Come back down. Hurry before somebody takes what you have to say. Everyone has to go. Just one thing. I think some people have to get out of their seats still. Frank. Wendy, did you put yours up yet?
What's it?
Right, what?
It's up.
Yeah. And have a seat when you're finished. Thank you. That's good. Okay, so let's read about what you guys think you saw were good things in the video. So, the second person in the video, the boy, he was speaking slowly and clearly. He wore something formal. His phone didn't ring. He sat down when they said take a seat. Wearing formal. He didn't... What's this one? Tie? Who wrote this? Don't crumple the paper. He didn't fold the paper. He had the paper, it was nice. What was that piece of paper called? Sheet. No. What is it called in a piece of paper when you write your name, your education history? Personal introduction, but in the United States we have a special word. It's actually a French word, and it's called resume. In other parts of the world, they call it a CV. A resume. It's a French word. You have to say it like a French word. Okay, so your resume. This is an important part. And when you bring it, it needs to be looking perfect. So you should actually put it in like something like a case,
Folder.
so that a folder, so that it's not messed up. Very good. Alright, good thing he was sitting straight. He gave a firm handshake. The bad things with the girl in the video was that her phone was ringing, she was disruptive, so she started asking questions before the interviewer started asking questions even. So that's definitely rude. She came in late, she was sitting like too relaxed, so that means that she probably wasn't taking the interview seriously. She was wearing jeans, she wasn't wearing a formal, and she hasn't taken care of her hair. She was like going like this, like with her hair. Yeah, so that means that she wasn't taking anything seriously. Okay, another point that I wanted to make about the bad is that the first question, well, do you guys remember what was the first question that the girl asked the interviewer?
Oh, how much are we gonna get paid?
Yeah, how much is she going to get paid? So that's also rude. That it's okay to ask how much you're going to get paid, but keep it until the end. If they don't tell you how much you're going to get paid in the job description or in the interview, you can ask it when they say, do you have any questions for me? Yeah, what else? Another thing about the part when the interviewer asks you questions, it's always important to ask questions to the interviewer because that's how they're going to set you apart from other people. So how many people are interviewing? They could interview 20, 40, 80, maybe even 100 different applicants for probably one position or two positions. So you have to make a big impression on them. And the way that you can do that is by doing all of these things in a good way, and also the questions that you ask at the end. So the questions you can ask for them is maybe, where do you see this company going in the next 5 years? How can we expand, or how can we do something like that? Companies like hearing, things like that. Okay, and of course you want to ask, when am I going to hear back from you? When, maybe in the United States they teach us that if you have an interview and you wait a week, then you can give a thank you letter to the employer to kind of remind them that you're still interested in the job. And you can even give them a phone call to say thank you, I'm wondering if you made a decision yet. Okay? So now what we're going to do for the last 10 minutes is I'm going to hand out different jobs for everyone. And then you guys are going to go in a pair, and one person is going to be the interviewer and one person is going to be the interviewee. And you guys are going to do a skit about the interview.